What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of BreBre Talks MMA. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. We've got UFC. There was a UFC fight night. It was at the Apex, and it was Rafael Dos Anjos versus Vicente Luque for the main event. So nice matchup there between, kind of an OG, and I don't know if I would call Vicente Luque a newcomer because he's been in the UFC for a while. And he's got some notable wins against former champs like Tyron Woodley. But RDA is obviously a huge legend of the sport. They're both Brazilian, so I was really excited for this fight. Just to kind of see, how Luque was going to bounce back from his last knockout, because it was a pretty brutal knockout, and we'll get into that later. But yeah, what's crazy about this card is, and this is why I always tell people, watch the freaking prelims, dude. Watch the prelims. Because guess what? The prelims were better than the main card this time. Like, way better. There were all finishes on the prelims, and there were a lot of first round finishes too. And of course, if you guys know me, I like a good 3-round, 5-round barn burner, but I'll take finishes too. I'll take that. If I have to pick between finishes and a more, I wouldn't say boring, but just like uneventful 3-round fight, I'll pick a first round finish all day night. But yeah, so let's get into it. There were a lot of first round finishes on the prelims, which normally, would be kind of concerning as far as like the matchups go. I do think there were a couple questionable matchups on there, and I think that was more due to just some short notice stuff that was going on. But I think for the most part, there were actually pretty evenly matched fights. It just happened to work out that way. And I don't know, maybe because it's at the Apex, like there's no crowd. I don't know. It just seems like sometimes we have more exciting fights, more action whenever there's no crowd. But I don't know. It depends on the fighter too. Like some fighters, like Nate Diaz, obviously he's more exciting to watch with a crowd. Like I wouldn't want to watch Nate Diaz with no crowd. It'd be kind of, I'm gonna still watch it, but I don't know. I wouldn't be nearly as excited for it. So let's go ahead and get into the fights. Let's start with the first fight on the prelims, and then we'll just go up from there. Juliana Miller versus Luana Santos. So this was an interesting fight. Juliana Miller, she actually won the 30th season of The Ultimate Fighter. And yeah, that tells you how The Ultimate Fighter is just not there anymore for me. It's just not there anymore. I don't know what it is. I don't know what happened. I think it's just because the level of competition is just so much higher now, and they have Dana White's Contender Series. It's like, I don't know, maybe we should just pick one. Do we want Contender Series or do we want The Ultimate Fighter? I don't think we need both. I think at this point, The Ultimate Fighter just seems like it's just dead. I mean, they even put the most famous MMA fighter of all time, Conor McGregor, on it, and even that couldn't save it. So, I don't know. I feel like I'm sounding really grumpy right now, but The Ultimate Fighter, to me, just the talent level isn't there anymore. I don't know. I mean, Juliana Miller's still a good fighter. She's not a bad fighter. It's just like, that was the winner of Tough 30, and she just got ran over by Luana Santos. I don't know. It just makes you wonder. But anyways, whatever. You never know what kind of night these fighters are having too. You never know what goes into it. But yeah, right away, Juliana Miller was really aggressive though. She did kind of like push the pace on Luana in the beginning of the fight. But then Luana hurt her with, it was like a pretty big right hand she threw. And then Luana got a takedown halfway through the round. Juliana Miller did get back up from that takedown, which I was impressed with that. But then Luana clinched her against the fence, and she was just stringing together combinations, and Juliana Miller wasn't defending. She was still standing up, but she wasn't defending, so Jason Herzog came in there and stopped it. Do I think that the stoppage was early. I don't know. It's not really any different than when Tony Ferguson got stopped against Justin Gaethje. I mean, he was standing. There's been plenty of times that's happened. I don't know. Yeah, I think it was a good stoppage. Jason Herzog is probably the best ref in the business right now. So I don't usually have any issues with a lot. I mean, there's been a couple times he's, made some mistakes, but I think every ref has made mistakes at some point. That's a tough job. But yeah, I thought it was a good stoppage. I thought Juliana Miller was just getting pieced up on the feet, and I don't think it was going to go much better for her. So, yeah, good stoppage there. She wasn't defending. She wasn't doing anything. Luana was just, yeah. That was a good performance by Luana, actually. I was impressed, I mean, Juliana was being really aggressive right away, like really aggressive. And I was kind of afraid that Luana would kind of like play into that a little bit. But no, she was like, I'm going to take you down. I'm going to back you up against the fence. And yeah, I'm going to put you away. So nice performance from Luana. It was a round 1 TKO. The next fight was Damon Blackshear versus Jose Johnson. And before I kind of break down this fight, I do want to mention that this was a short notice fight. Damon Blackshear originally had a different opponent. I don't remember who it was he was supposed to fight. I forgot to write it down. But there was a different opponent lined up for him originally. And I guess they pulled out, a week before the fight or whatever. I don't know how long before the fight they pulled out. But they pulled out, so Damon Blackshear needed a new opponent. Jose Johnson stepped in. And let me see what my notes are on Jose Johnson. This was his UFC debut. He was on Contender Series before, and he was on a 3-fight win streak leading up to this. So this wasn't, just some random guy. Like, this guy's legit. Okay, this guy's legit. Jose Johnson is a legit fighter. This was his UFC debut. He took it on short notice against Damon Blackshear, who has never been finished. Was coming off a win, trains at Jackson Wink. So it's like, yeah, I mean, props to Johnson for even taking that fight on short notice. That's, yeah. But now that we've established that, let's get into Damon Blackshear's incredible performance, because that was probably my favorite performance of the night. And just because I know how legit of a fighter Jose Johnson is, even with this being his debut, he's been on Contender Series. Leading up to this fight, he was 15-7. So, I mean, he has more fight experience than Damon Blackshear, even though this was his debut. So I just wanted to establish that, because I think sometimes people see these names and they're like, I don't know who this is, so they must be a bum. And it's like, no, they're not, actually. They're pretty legit. So, yeah, tough opponent, really in both directions. Tough opponent for Damon to take on short notice, and a tough opponent for Jose to step in there on short notice. So really, it was kind of risky for both of them. But really, in round 1, Damon got off to an aggressive start. He had strong grappling. Like, you could just tell. I mean, his grappling is just ridiculous. He got a takedown pretty early on. He tried to take his back, but Jose Johnson actually got back up. And then, of course, got taken down again. And then this time, Damon did get to take his back. He attempted a rear naked choke. And then he changed it to a twister, which I don't think anybody saw that coming. This is only this third twister in UFC history. The first one was the Korean Zombie. Second one was Bryce Mitchell. Now the third one, Damon Blackshear. So that's got to be pretty cool to be one of 3 fighters in UFC history to pull off a twister. And what's crazy is before, the only 2 to pull that off were both featherweights. And I guess he's the first bantamweight to now pull off a twister. So pretty cool stuff. But yeah, he basically, what happened was, Jose Johnson, I think he went to throw an elbow, and when he did that, Damon used that to set up the twister, because when you do the twister, it's kind of hard to explain, but you have to get your opponent's arm, like, behind your body. It's kind of weird. So you have to lock up their leg with both of your legs. And then you also have to take their arm and put it behind your back. Which is why it's called the twister, because you're basically twisting their whole body. I mean, the name is pretty, So he ended up using that elbow to trap his arm and then was able to pull off the twister. It was incredible. The way, like, guys, this is such an impressive submission win. It's so impressive what he did. So impressive. So you got a round 1 submission. I don't remember what time in the round it was, but even to pull that off in the first round, like, yeah, just the speed at which he pulled that off too was just incredible. Incredible grappling. Damon Blackshear, he's going to be a problem. Anyways, moving on to the next fight. So this was Montserrat Ruiz versus Jacqueline Amorim. So this was a very dominant performance from Amorim. Amorim is, holy crap, she is a monster. She's a monster. And Ruiz is tough. She's tough. She's a Mexican fighter. She's scrappy. Like, she's tough. She's got good wrestling too. So that's what actually really surprised me is Amorim was able to really show off her grappling in this fight. So in the first round, Amorim quickly got a takedown, passed to basically 3/4 mount, and then eventually got to full mount. Threw some ground and pound, didn't do a whole lot in that first round, but then she took her back and she ended up getting a body triangle. Then she got back into mount, attempted an arm bar. Ruiz ended up getting on top too then, but then Amorim ended up getting her back and attempted a rear naked choke in the first round. So I thought that was a 10-8 round, honestly, for Amorim. If she stayed super busy in that round, she was attempting submissions, she was throwing ground and pound, she was getting the dominant positions. So, I mean, she pretty much controlled Ruiz for most of that round. And then the second round, Ruiz actually landed some pretty nice shots. I don't remember exactly what she landed on her, what kind of combination it was, but she landed early. But then Amorim landed right back at her. So, and Ruiz ended up getting on top, which was interesting. But then Amorim got her back. So it seemed like any time Ruiz got on top, Amorim was able to kind of reverse it and take her back. So I thought that was really interesting. And then she ended up getting back on top. She attempted an armbar in that round and then kind of threw some ground and pound at the end of the round. So I would consider that possibly another 10-8 round for Amorim. And then round 3, Ruiz was pressuring her early. She was really putting the pace on her because I think she realized, like, I got to go for broke this round. I lost the first 2 rounds clearly, so I need a finish if I want to have any chance of winning this fight. But then she ended up taking Amorim down, and she did control her on top, but I just was kind of confused why she did that because, I don't know, maybe she thought she was going to be able to, like, ground and pound finish her. I don't know. I don't know what the thought process was there. I would think that Ruiz would try to keep it on the feet and just try to somehow knock her out. I don't know. But then, Amorim on the ground ended up attempting a Kimura and then used that Kimura. I don't know if she was really trying to finish her with that, but she used it to sweep. And then she ended up getting back on top again and ground and pounded Ruiz until, the ref stopped it. So it was round 3 TKO for Amorim. And that was another really impressive performance that night. And that was a women's strawweight fight. I couldn't remember if it was women's strawweight or flyweight. It was a women's strawweight fight. And now Jacqueline is 7-1. And she's actually still never been finished. She was coming off a loss before this fight to Sam Hughes, but never been finished. She's from Brazil. She fights at American Top Team, so I imagine she's going to be a freaking monster. So that's exciting. After that was Josh Parisian versus Martin Buday. I kind of had a feeling Martin Buday was going to win this fight. I wasn't really sure, though, because was this heavyweight or light heavyweight? I thought this was heavyweight. Yeah, this was heavyweight. Okay. I was thinking of a different fight. There was another fight where there was a heavyweight. Oh, it was Chris Daukaus. Yeah, Chris Daukaus fought at light heavyweight. Was that last night? Yeah, today's Sunday. Oh my God, my brain is fried. Anyways, so in this fight, Josh Parisian actually landed early. So I was like, oh, maybe Parisian is gonna like put the pressure on him. But then Martin Buday really picked up the pace. He was throwing knees. He was throwing all kinds of stuff, throwing great combinations. And yeah, just putting on a really kind of fast pace for a heavyweight fight in the first round. And then he ended up, I can't remember what happened, but I think Parisian backed him up to the fence, and then Buday like reversed it. And then he actually somehow locked up Parisian's right arm in that exchange, and then he was able to get a Kimura from side control. So I thought that was pretty insane how he pulled that off. I mean, because they were standing up. Like, he didn't even really, I mean, he took him down, obviously, but he was kind of in position already before he got to the ground. So he used that reversal to, I guess, kind of get Parisian in that position. So then when they did get to the ground, he was already almost finished with the Kimura. So I don't know. I have to watch it again to really like break it down and kind of figure out what happened there. But it was a verbal tap from Parisian because I don't even think he had control of either of his arms in that situation. So it was a verbal tap. Yeah, super impressive. First round finish for Martin Buday. Another first round finish on the card. So that, yeah, that's always exciting. But Martin Buday, he's gonna be a problem. Now he's 13-1. He was on, so this, now he's on an 11 fight win streak. He's never been finished. Yeah, he's gonna be a freaking monster. Okay, next fight. Speaking of monsters, Isaac Dulgarian versus Francis Marshall. So this is probably the prelim fight I was most excited for because they're two young guys. They're both kind of like up and coming. Francis Marshall had some UFC experience before this. Isaac Dulgarian was making his debut. He came from looking for a fight. Dana White, I guess, went and watched. I can't remember the name of the promotion. It's one of the like regional or local promotions that he went to. And watched Dulgarian fight and offered him a contract. And yeah, so this was his debut. And I wasn't sure, though, because Francis Marshall does have really good grappling, too. But Isaac Dulgarian, he's, a classic Midwest grappler. He's from Kansas City. His nickname's the Midwest Choppa. So I was really excited about this because, me being from the Midwest, I love watching Midwest grapplers. Leading up to this, he was 5-0. He trains out of Factory X. Like I said, he's a Midwest wrestler, so wrestling is kind of his base. But he also has a 100% finish rate. And I believe, all of his finishes have come in the first round. So now 6-0, 6 finishes, all in the first round. So this guy's never seen a second round. Which is a good thing and a bad thing at the same time, because it's like, okay, well, what happens when he doesn't finish them in the first round? Because eventually that's probably going to happen. It's just kind of inevitable. But I don't know. Right now he looks like he's gonna be, an absolute monster. He got the takedown pretty early, so that was the first sign where I was like, okay, this fight's probably gonna go his way. But I didn't think it was going to be that fast. He was throwing like a lot of short elbows. He was just destroying Francis Marshall's face. I mean, I think his cauliflower ear exploded within like a couple minutes. And then by the time the ref stopped it was pretty late in the round, actually, when he stopped it. So, yeah, whenever I saw his face after that, it was like, oh my God, that is rough. That is rough. So Francis Marshall got beat up pretty bad. And I like Francis Marshall. I think he's got a bright future. I think that was definitely a rough go for him. I don't know. That was tough, but I had a feeling, Dulgarian being undefeated, having 5 first round finishes as a pro, That's huge. And I think he had first round finishes as an amateur too. Like, this guy's just, he's scary. He's scary. But we'll see. We'll see how he does. This is a featherweight fight, so I'm curious to see who they match him up with next. I mean, that's pretty deep division, so it might take him a while to kind of get to, you know, the top 15. I mean, I would think it would take a while to get there, depending on how it goes, depending on what kind of matchups he gets. But, you know, hopefully, he was saying, like, he lives in an RV right now, and, like, you know, he doesn't have a lot of money, and I don't know, I would hope they would give him performance of the night. I know they gave out 4 performance of the night bonuses. I don't know if he got one of them, but I would hope they do, like, take care of him. I don't know. I mean, the dude's undefeated. That was a really impressive performance against not an easy opponent in Francis Marshall. So hopefully Dana takes care of him, or somebody does, because that guy, yeah, that was impressive. That was really impressive. And then the next fight, another first round finish for Terrence McKinney. And I wasn't really sure what was going to happen in this fight. I kind of had a feeling Terrence McKinney was going to win, but you just never know. He was fighting Mike Breeden, and originally this was supposed to be Mike Breeden versus Lando Venata. And Lando Venata pulled out of the fight. I think it was an injury or something. I don't know. So Terrence McKinney took this on short notice, and he just fought like literally a month ago. He got submitted, unfortunately, in his last fight. So he was saying, like, you know, he kind of took this fight because he wanted to kind of make up for that loss. You know, he wanted to bounce back, and I think he saw this as an opportunity of like, oh, I could beat this guy. You know, this is a winnable fight for me. I can take it on short notice. He's not going to be ready for me because he hasn't been training for me. He's been training for Lando Venata. So I think he saw this as a great opportunity to kind of brush that loss under the rug and kind of just, like, you know, start with some more momentum and get another win under his belt. So I thought it was smart for him to take this fight, honestly. I think a lot of people were concerned about him taking this on short notice, just coming off of that loss, but I really wasn't worried about it because I think Terrence McKinney's got a lot of talent, and I think he knows, like, okay, you know, I can win this fight. And I think he really did believe in himself, and it shows. Because he pushed the pace early. He got in there, was aggressive right away. Threw some really brutal knees, and then he threw that left hand that just was devastating. So yeah, it was a great performance from Terrence McKinney. One of my favorite performances of the night. There was a lot of great performances last night, honestly. But yeah, we'll see how he does in his next fight. Hopefully the next one's a full camp. I don't know who they're going to put him up against next. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. But great performance regardless. And then after that was JP Bays versus Marcus McGee. Yeah, Marcus McGee is terrifying. I think this was his 7th knockout, and he's now 8-1. So most of his wins have been knockouts. And it was a right hand, I think, that he threw that was just devastating. Yeah, it was a little bit of a weird stoppage because of the way that JP just kind of fell forward. But he was definitely out. Like, it was done. It was done. Yeah, Marcus McGee is scary. He is scary. I'm excited to see him fight again. Very excited. Yeah, not much to say about that. I mean, it's first round knockout. It was beautiful. Beautiful knockout. And then Josh Fremd versus Jamie Pickett. Not the most exciting fight in the world, but it was technical. It was a technical fight. It was good. I thought they both did pretty well. Josh Fremd obviously ended up winning 30-27. He won every round, but Jamie Pickett didn't look bad. You know, he didn't look bad. Fremd was pushing him up against the fence quite a bit. You know, he threw some knees, and then he got him in the clinch again. So it was a lot of clinch work. He was throwing elbows, throwing knees, and then actually Jamie Pickett got a takedown in the second round, and then Fremd attempted a guillotine, didn't get it, took his back, or Jamie Pickett took his back, and then I think it was later in that round, Fremd attempted another guillotine, but it was a standing one. And then he ended up getting on top. So it was kind of a weird round in the second round. And then round 3, Fremd landed a flying knee pretty early on. And then Pickett got another takedown. But then Fremd reversed it, got on top. And then they were clinching for a little while. And the ref stopped, came in and was like, hey, separated it. So it's just kind of a weird fight. It wasn't a bad fight, but it was just kind of, a lot of clinch work, a lot of grappling, but not really super eventful. Neither of them were really ever in much danger in that fight. So, Josh Fremd definitely looked really good, and I thought Jamie Pickett looked good too. I just think that Fremd was just a little step ahead of him. That was a unanimous decision for Josh Fremd. And then the next fight was AJ Dobson versus Stefan Nchukwi. I thought it was funny when they were when Nchukwi was walking out, they put on the what's it called? The thing where they have the facts about the fighters when they're walking out. They put he's the first Cameroonian fighter in UFC history. And I'm like, did you guys just forget Francis Ngannou ever existed? What? What is the most petty thing I've ever seen? But anyways, I thought that was funny. But yeah, AJ Dobson won that fight. I thought Nchukwi maybe won round 2. I don't know, it was another kind of weird fight. It wasn't super eventful. Dobson got a takedown in the third round. That was probably the biggest moment of the fight. But yeah, I don't know. I was cooking dinner when I watched that fight, so maybe I should watch it again before I judge. But yeah, it was just not a whole lot going on there. I don't know. I wasn't really sure who was going to get the decision. I thought it would be Dobson, but I was like, I don't know. The first round, I wasn't really paying too much attention. Like I said, I was cooking dinner, but it looked like AJ Dobson had a good end to the first round. So I think that's probably he probably won the first round, the third round, I would think, just because he got that takedown in the third and finished off the first round really well. So I don't know, but yeah, it was a decent fight. It was just coming off the prelims, watching all those finishes. It's just I was falling asleep the main card openers, but it's all good. Not every fight can be a first round finisher, barn burner. It's okay. They're still great fighters. They're still, whatever. But Nchukwi did miss weight for that fight. So I always root for the fighter that makes weight. Just, I feel like out of principle. But, anyways, next fight, Poliana Viana versus Yasmin Lucindo. This was a beautiful performance from Lucindo, and I was actually kind of surprised. Poliana Viana was hyped up a lot for this fight, and obviously she's really gorgeous, Instagram model or whatever you want to call it. She's I guess she's a model. I don't know. She's really, really pretty. So I guess that was part of the reason behind all her hype. But she's also a really talented fighter, but I wasn't sure who was going to win this. Lucindo, she's really young. I think she's 23. So I wasn't sure what to expect from her. And I'm trying to look at my notes here. Poliana, she was coming off a win. She's Brazilian. She's not a black belt. She is a brown belt. And she was 13-5 leading up to this. Yasmin was 14-5. So pretty close matchup. It wasn't mismatched or anything. I think that Lucindo her grappling is incredible. I'm trying to think. So the first round, it was mostly stand up. And then it was the last minute of the round, I think, is when Lucindo took her down. And then she kind of landed some hammer fist, and it just wasn't enough time to really finish Poliana in that first round. So then the second round, Lucindo threw something. I can't remember what she threw, but she threw something that really hurt Viana. And then she got the takedown, and she ended up getting an arm triangle. So it was an arm triangle submission in the second round. Yeah, just a really impressive performance from Lucinda. I'm really excited to see her, because that was a women's strawweight fight. And it's always exciting to see like these new fighters coming up, because women's strawweight is still relatively new. You know, it's like we have women's fighting, we have like the Ronda Rousey era, and we've got, you know, like Rose Namajunas, and we've got all these fighters, but it's still, we have so much, like, we have so far to go with women's MMA, and it's exciting to see like these monsters coming up in women's strawweight and flyweight and all that. I really just see the evolution of women's MMA, and it's really exciting. So I'm really impressed with Lucinda. I'm really excited to see what she does next. But yeah, nice round 2 submission for her. And then after that was Khalil Roundtree versus Chris Daukaus. This was that heavyweight I was mentioning. Chris Daukaus, former heavyweight, fighting Khalil Roundtree, which he's not a huge light heavyweight. I mean, he's big, but Chris Daukaus used to be a freaking heavyweight. So I wasn't sure how this was going to go. I was really happy to see Khalil Roundtree get the win, honestly. I think, I don't know, I think he's got something special. I really do. And in the beginning, Chris Daukaus, I think it was around the first minute, Chris Daukaus actually rocked him a little bit, and he was able to bounce back from it. And Chris Daukaus attempted a takedown, but then Khalil Roundtree threw a huge left hand, terrifying left hand, followed it up with some ground and pound, and then it was just done. It was done. First round TKO for Khalil Roundtree. And, you know, Khalil Roundtree said in his post-fight interview that he wants a 5-round main event in his next fight. And I think that's fair. I think I would like to see him in a 5-round main event. I think he's an exciting fighter. He's got knockout power. He's a Muay Thai guy, so he's got some interesting stuff. I'm not against it. I really am not. Obviously, I think a title fight it's not there yet. He could get there. I think he could. He has a lot of potential. But I do think, yeah. I don't know who he would fight. I'm trying to think of the light heavyweight roster right now. That division's not super deep right now. So, yeah, I don't think that would be unrealistic. I'm trying to think who would we put him up against? I don't know. I don't know who Ozdemir is supposed to fight next. That's maybe a potential at some point. Or maybe somebody like Rakic. Well, he's more of a grappler. I don't know if I really want to see that. I don't know. Maybe Johnny Walker or Ryan Spann. I don't know. I think Johnny Walker, Khalil Roundtree in a 5-round main event, that'd be kind of fun. Have they fought before? I don't think they have. I'm going to look it up right now. Pulling it up, Jamie. Let's see, Johnny Walker. Does he have a fight coming up? I don't even know. I feel like they keep announcing fights, and I don't know. I can't keep track of all of them, guys. It's a little overwhelming. Yeah, Johnny Walker. He's on a 3-fight win streak right now. He has been knocked out before, so that kind of makes it interesting. I don't think, oh yeah, he did. He fought Khalil Roundtree. Oh yeah, he knocked him out. I forgot about that. That was a while ago. That was in 2018. So it's been 5 years since they fought. So maybe they could sell that fight. A nice little rematch. I don't know. I don't hate it. I think I would take Johnny Walker in that fight, but I don't hate it. Because, let's see, what has Khalil Roundtree done recently? He's on a 4-fight win streak right now. He's got a couple TKOs. Yeah, 3 TKOs, 1 decision, his last 4. He's 4-1 in his last 5. Yeah, give him Johnny Walker in a main event, a 5-round main event, a fight night. Johnny Walker versus Khalil Roundtree. Let's do it. The rematch. 5 years later, I love it. I'm sold. I sold myself. I love it. I just don't want them to give him like Dominic Reyes or Anthony Smith, because I'd rather them get a fight they can actually win. I don't know. I think that just based on what I saw from Khalil Roundtree last night, I think he could probably beat Anthony Smith, and he could probably definitely beat Dominic Reyes. So I think those are kind of out of the question. I think maybe Ryan Spann or Johnny Walker. The only problem with Ryan Spann is I don't think that's a big enough fight to put on a main event. I think Johnny Walker's a bigger name, so I think that would work. And I think they could really sell that fight just because of the original fight. So I'm going with Johnny Walker, versus Khalil Roundtree in a 5-rounder. I love it. I love it. Okay. You're welcome, matchmakers. I just did your whole job for you. I'm just kidding. None of the matchups I ever talk about ever come to fruition. It's so frustrating to me. I'm like, these are the fights I want to see. Make these fights happen, please. Come on, guys. Anyways. The co-main event. Cub Swanson versus Hakeem Dawodu. I will be honest, leading up to this fight, I wasn't really sure what was going to happen. I kind of expected Dawodu to win only because Cub Swanson's 39. You know, he's later in his career. He's been in so many wars. Just wasn't sure, how is his chin going to hold up? How's he going to do? And obviously he's done so much already. Like, he really has nothing left to prove. He's a legend of the sport. You've got to have respect for Cub Swanson. You have to, in my opinion. And if you aren't familiar with Cub Swanson, I would challenge you to go back and look at his old fights and look at his resume and all the people he's fought. I mean, he's a beast. So I actually thought he did really well. He landed a clean right hand early in the first round and kind of hurt Dawodu originally. I mean, that was a really clean right hand that he threw. He landed some nice jabs, and then Dawodu, he landed something. I can't remember what it was. And Cub was bleeding in that round, so I actually scored that round for Dawodu just because of the damage. Even though Cub did hurt Dawodu early in the round, I thought Dawodu won that fight just because of the damage, because that is the number one criteria when you're scoring a fight. So that's why I thought they would score the first round for Dawodu. I don't know. That's what I thought. Round 2, Cub threw some uppercuts. Who's working the body. I thought he did really well in that round. Dawodu was kind of clinching for a while. Cub was just kind of swinging for the fences later in the round. I don't know what I really thought of that fight. That round. I thought Dawodu won that round, but I'd have to watch it again to really say. Round 3, Dawodu landed some really clean shots. Cub did get a takedown late in the round and ended up taking Dawodu's back, but wasn't able to do anything with it. So, I don't know. I guess you could argue that Cub won the third round, but I thought Dawodu won the first and the second. So, I don't think it was a robbery. I think that word gets thrown around too much, and I've said this before. I do think Dawodu won the fight, but yeah, and I mean, even Cub Swanson afterwards was like, yeah, I don't think I won that fight. So, if the fighter doesn't think they won the fight, then they probably didn't win the fight. I don't know. I'm glad he got a win because I like Cub Swanson, so I'm not mad about it, but I do think Dawodu won the fight. I will have to watch it again to say for sure, though, because Cub did have some great moments, and he did actually look really good in that fight. So, I don't know. It was a unanimous decision, too, so that really kind of shocked me. I thought it was going to be like a split decision, but no, these judges, man. These judges. The main event. Rafael Dos Anjos versus Vicente Luque. This is such an interesting matchup, and the fight played out exactly how I expected. I knew it was going to be all 5 rounds. I knew it was going to go to decision. I didn't think it was going to be, a war. I didn't think there was going to be a knockout. I didn't think there was going to be submissions. These guys are both so talented, and the high level grappling that they both possess just it just shows. It really shows. And RDA is one of the best grapplers the UFC's ever seen, as far as this jiu-jitsu goes. And then Vicente Luque's got some really impressive grappling too, and he's got great striking as well. So I wasn't sure if this was going to be, you know, more of a stand-up fight, more wrestling. It was kind of a little bit of both. So it's kind of exactly what I expected. And RDA was landing early in the first round. He attempted a takedown. Luque's takedown defense looked phenomenal. Luque ended up getting a takedown in that round, and then RDA attempted a guillotine. Of course, with Luque having extremely high-level grappling as well, was able to nullify that. And then Luque ended up taking his back in the first round. In the second round, RDA attempted a takedown again, and Luque just, his takedown defense is just almost perfect. I mean, it was really good, and RDA is a really strong grappler. So he might be a tad undersized for welterweight, and maybe that had a little bit to do with it, why he wasn't able to get Luque down. But it's not like RDA's never won against a welterweight. He's got some really impressive wins at welterweight. So I don't know. And then Luque in the third round was landing. RDA pushed him to the fence, and then Luque got another takedown. RDA got up pretty quickly after that one, so he wasn't really able to do much with it. Landed a right hand. Luque landed right after that. So it's kind of a little bit back and forth in the third round. RDA landed a really nice combination. So I might have given the third round to RDA, honestly. I thought he did really good in that round. And then Luque almost got a Darce choke. I can't remember if that was the third round or the fourth round. I think it was the fourth round. And then Luque attempted a takedown, attempted another takedown, and then he got a takedown eventually, took his back, didn't really do much with it. I think it was just too late in the round. And then round 5, RDA ended the round on top. So, I don't know, you probably could have given rounds 3 and 5 to RDA, but I thought Luque just looked better. He just looked like the better fighter there. And I thought he won rounds 1, 2, and 4. So, yeah, great fight. It was very competitive, very technical, just a very high-level fight. And, you know, 2 Brazilians that have really high-level jiu-jitsu and grappling, great striking, too. So, yeah, I thought it was a great matchup. I don't know what's next for Luque, though, because I am a little concerned about him. I am a little surprised he even took that fight, to be honest. He was coming off a knockout loss to Jeff Neal. And if you know Jeff Neal, you know he's got crazy power. And it was a brutal knockout, like really bad. And Luque ended up having a brain bleed after that because of the knockout, which is a very scary situation. If it were me, I don't know that I would continue fighting. And he quit sparring for a long time until he was fully recovered, which I'm glad. He took a long layoff, and you know I'm glad he did. Because I would hate for him to end up permanently, you know. Yeah, it's just scary. It's scary to think about. You know, these fighters put their health on the line. They put their life on the line. They really do. You know, you don't see all the behind the scenes that they deal with and the after effects, you know, later in their life. And I just hope that he really is careful and really thinks about, like, is this worth it? I would love to see him fight again because I think he's a phenomenal fighter. It does kind of concern me, him having that brain bleed situation. And yeah, that's a pretty serious health issue. So I don't know. I really like Vicente Luque, but I just don't know if it's a good idea for him to keep fighting after that. Not that I think he's going to get knocked out again or anything, but it's like, if he does, what is going to happen? I don't know. And I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know what I'm talking about. It's scary. It's scary because I would hate for him to get knocked out again, or even in just sparring, you know, get hurt and then end up, you know, permanently like brain damaged or have a stroke, or I don't know what could happen from that. You know, like I said, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. And I'm sure he's working very closely with doctors to make sure that doesn't happen again and make sure he's healthy. But yeah, it is a little scary. It is a little scary. And, you know, I really hope the best for him. And I hope that if he does continue fighting, that it doesn't cause any sort of permanent health issues or bring back any of those issues again. Because I really, I like to see him fight, but I also like to see him healthy too. So hopefully his doctors know what they're doing, because that's a little scary. But great win for him. RDA is a legend, guys. Like, he is a legend. He's a former champion. He's been in there with everybody. I think he has the most time in the octagon of any fighter. He's been in there with everyone, and he's been in 5 rounders a lot. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know what's next for him. He'll probably end up just being kind of a gatekeeper if he stays at welterweight. I don't know if he'll ever go back down to lightweight, because he's getting older, and it's harder to make the weight as you get older. But I would like to see him fight again. I just don't know who. I don't really want to see him get fed to like some young prospect who's just going to go in there and absolutely, I don't know. But he could end up being like a gatekeeper. He could be like a Neil Magny type situation, or kind of like a Jeff Neal. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen, but he might be, I don't know. I mean, he's a little undersized at welterweight, but it just depends on who he's going up against, I think. I think there are some fighters, like, obviously, I don't want to see him fight Kamaru Usman again. I don't want to see that again, because I think Kamaru Usman would absolutely run him over at this point in his career. But, I don't know. There might be some interesting matchups for him at welterweight. We'll see. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe depending on if Ian Gary beats Neil Magny, maybe he could fight one of them. He could fight Neil Magny if he loses. I actually would really like to see him fight Neil Magny. I think that would be a fun fight. But looking at welterweight, it's like, okay, you got Usman, Covington, Bilal, Hamzat, Gilbert Burns, Shavkat. I don't want to see him fight any of those guys. I really don't. I did like this matchup with him and Luque. So I don't know, maybe Ian Gary or Neil Magny or Jack Della. I don't know. Maybe Stephen Thompson, that would be like an OG fight. They're both kind of legends of the game. I don't know who wins that fight, though. I don't know. There's a lot of options. If he stays at welterweight, which I think he probably will. I just don't think a title is really in his future. I think he's going to be more of like a test for like these new fighters, like an Ian Gary or so we'll see what happens. I too love watching him fight, though, because he's just such a legend. So we'll see. But anyways, moving on to bare-knuckle. There was a very big fight in bare-knuckle this weekend on Friday night. And I want to talk about it because I do think it's huge for the sport. Bryce Hall ended up finishing G. Perez in bare-knuckle, and G. Perez before this was 3-0 in bare-knuckle fighting championships. So that's a big deal. I mean, I know that G was a little undersized in this fight. I think he was like a featherweight or bantamweight. And Bryce Hall I think he's more of like a welterweight or a lightweight. But yeah, besides that, though, I mean, it's bare knuckle. It's a little bit different than MMA. Like, being undersized in bare knuckle, I don't think it's as big of a deal as being undersized in MMA. So I don't think that factor was as big of a deal. I think G. Perez actually looked really good in that fight, but he broke his arm, or he hurt his arm or shoulder. I don't know what exactly happened. Bryce punched him through a combination of him. I think he hit his arm, and then you saw G kind of grab his arm a little bit. So I don't know what happened. I watched it like 4 times, and I still couldn't like figure out what happened. So I don't know. And it was weird too, because there was like a takedown early in the fight, and Bryce Hall, I guess, like took him down, and G was going for like a guillotine. It was really weird. I don't know. That was just very strange, but whatever. And then let's see. Yeah, then Bryce was actually having some success in the first round. He did really well. Hold on. Okay, sorry about that. So Bryce Hall looked really good in the first round. And Bryce Hall's boxed before. Like, he's actually a decent boxer. So I was kind of expecting this to be, you know, a fight. Like, I didn't expect it to be like one-sided, like G Perez was just going to run him over. I did expect G to win though. I really did. And honestly, in the second round, even with one arm, G kind of looked like he was winning the round. I was kind of surprised that he quit. I mean, obviously his arm was messed up, so I don't blame him. But just the way that he looked in the second round, I was like, I don't know, maybe he might be able to finish Bryce with one arm, honestly. But then he called it quits. And of course, he's got one. How are you supposed to fight with one arm? It's kind of tough. So, but to his credit, I think he could have pulled it off. I really do. But yeah, I mean, whatever. It is what it is. He got injured. It happens. Bryce ended up winning the fight pretty much just because of that. So, and Bryce even said in the press conference afterwards, he was like, yeah, I don't think I would have won the fight if my bread just fell off my counter. Bryce was like, yeah, I don't think I would have won the fight if G wouldn't have hurt his arm and called it quits after the second round. He's like, I don't think I would have won. And I think he's right. I think if G wouldn't have got injured, I think G would have won the fight. I think Bryce had a good start, but I think G would have ended up taking over and winning the fight. But regardless, here's the thing. Bryce Hall is the only one of these influencer YouTuber boxers that's been willing to get in there bare knuckle and take the gloves off and actually get in there and do what a lot of people are afraid to do. So you have to give him props for that. You have to respect him for that. I think it's hard not to respect him after watching him get in there with a 3-0 bare knuckle boxer. I mean, that's, yeah, like, I think you just have to respect it. He's definitely tough. He's definitely, not afraid of a challenge. I don't think he wanted to be in there. I think, he probably did have some fear going in there because there's no gloves. I mean, you can get messed up in bare knuckle. So you got to respect it. You got to respect it. Even though he won the fight in kind of a weird way, he still won the fight. So that's huge for bare knuckle. It's huge for influencer boxing. It's huge for all of that. And I do think that I've come around to influencer boxing a little bit more. I used to kind of make fun of it and be like, this is stupid. This is a disgrace to the sport. But what I've learned is that it's actually a good thing for the sport. I really do think it is, because these guys are taking it seriously. Like Bryce Hall, he's taking it seriously. Jake Paul, he's taking it seriously. These guys are really training like legit fighters. So I think it's time for us to kind of, look at it a little bit differently and be like, okay, this could be a good thing for the sport. It's bringing more attention. It's bringing more eyeballs. And Bryce Hall didn't take that fight because he wants to be the next Mike Perry. He took that fight because he wants to do some behind the scenes stuff and work with Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. That's why he took that fight. Which I thought was really interesting. And he kind of talked about that. He's like, yeah, maybe I'll do another fight, but really what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to work with Bare Knuckle Fighting Championship. And, so I thought that was really cool. That he, wants to help them, wants to, work with them. I think that might be a good idea, a good move for Bare Knuckle to hire somebody like Bryce Hall to help them maybe with their social media, help them promote whatever he's wanting to do. I think it would be smart. So I thought it was really cool that he went in there and did that. I think it'd be fun to see another influencer, YouTuber go in there and see if they can handle it, see if they can do bare knuckle. Cause I don't know. I think a lot of these guys might get humbled if they go in there and take the gloves off. I think, especially if they fight somebody legit like Mike Perry or Eddie Alvarez or Chad Mendez. Like, yeah, they're not going to last. They are not going to last. Not that G Perez isn't legit. He is legit, but he is smaller and he doesn't have the MMA experience like Mike Perry and those guys have. So, But yeah, props to Bryce Hall for, stepping in there, taking that fight. Props to G Perez too for finding somebody that's a lot bigger than him. I thought it was fun. I thought it was exciting, and the main event was great too. John Dodson ended up winning, and I wasn't surprised. John Dodson's a freaking beast. He's so fast. He is so fast. It's incredible. It is incredible. If you haven't watched John Dodson fight in bare-knuckle, like, seriously, it is so fun to watch. You gotta watch it. He's just, like, a firecracker. Like, his energy is insane. Like, not only does he, throw fast, like, he's got incredible hand speed. He's really explosive. But he also talks really fast, too. Like, I think he just does everything fast, it seems like. Like, his whole energy is just fast. Like, he's just a little ball of energy. But, yeah, it was really exciting. And then also another performance that I wanted to bring up was Keith Richardson. He ended up knocking out, I think his name was Derek Perez. There was, 3 guys on that card with the last name Perez, so I was trying to keep them all straight. I think it was Derek Perez was his name. And Keith Richardson threw, it looked like it was a 2-3 from southpaw. And that's one of my favorite combinations to throw. Either the 1-2-3, or the 2-3 and the 3 with my lead hand. So throwing a really powerful, right hook when you're a southpaw is really fun to throw. Because most people their rear hand is kind of their power hand, but in which it is, but when you're a southpaw and you throw that hook, it's just, I don't know, it kind of just hits different. I think it hits a little different, and it's a fun combination to throw. I love throwing the 2 to the body and then the 3 to the head. That's one of my favorites too. But the way he threw that 2 wasn't really super, super powerful. Like, he threw it and it kind of landed, but then he threw that lead hook and it was just devastating. It was absolutely devastating. Knocked the guy right on the floor, and it was done. It was done. It was a beautiful performance. So I'm really excited to see Keith Richardson fight again. I mean, I was really impressed with him. So fun stuff. I did watch the whole card. I don't remember all the details of it, I'll be honest, because it was Friday night. I came home, got off work, watched the card. I was just trying to relax and watch fights and have fun. So I didn't get into serious mode like I did with the UFC, but I did enjoy the fights. I always love watching bare knuckle. It's just fun to watch. The women's fight was really fun to watch too. And the one girl, she got messed up. Her face she was bleeding all over the place. That was kind of crazy, but it was fun. It was an exciting night of fights. I mean, it's Friday night, watching bare knuckle, just chilling and relaxing after a long day of work, a long week of work. Yeah, it's a good way to unwind. So yeah, I had fun. And I'm excited for this weekend, UFC 292. So I'm going to take another look at the card just to kind of see what we got going on here. We've had some matchups change. Cody Garbrandt is out of his fight with Mario Batista, so we'll see if Mario Batista ends up getting a new opponent. I'm gonna see. Yeah, there's some fun fights. There's a women's flyweight fight opening up that card, or at least right now, that's what it looks like. Andrea Lee versus Natalia Silva. That's going to be interesting. I don't know how I feel about Andrea Lee in that fight. I think Silva might be able to win that. I don't know. We'll see. Andre Petroski versus Gerald Meerschaert. That is a really exciting fight. I'm taking Andre Petroski in that one, I think, just slightly. Now, would I be surprised if GM3 pulled off a nice submission? I wouldn't be surprised. But Andre Petroski's got incredible wrestling. Yeah, I don't know. That's a fun fight. Let's see what other fights catch my attention. Chris Weidman versus Brad Tavares. I'm taking Brad Tavares in that fight, but always love to see Chris Weidman. He's such a legend. Marlon Vera versus Pedro Munoz. I'm taking Cheeto on that one. I love Marlon. He's such a fun, high energy, good I don't know. He's just like good vibes. I love like watching his interviews. I love watching him. Like he was on a Fight Companion one time with Brendan Schaub and Sam Tripoli not too long ago. And he's just, yeah, he seems like a cool guy. So I'm always going to root for him. And then Cody Garbrandt, yeah, he's out of that fight. I don't know what happened there. Neil Magny versus Ian Gary. That's the new matchup on the card. And I've been trying to kind of wrestle with this in my mind a little bit. I don't know what I think is going to happen in that fight. My brain is telling me Neil Magny, just because he's got so much more experience. But Ian Gary's just been on such a tear. I don't know. If there was ever a fight that he was going to lose, I think it's this one. I really do. Neil Magny is just tough. He's a tough opponent for anybody. He's kind of a gatekeeper, like I said before. So, I don't know. I really like Ian Gary. I really do. But I think I might have to go with Neil Magny on that one. I don't know. Yeah. He's just got so much more experience. It's absolutely insane. But Ian Gary's really good. I don't know. I think Neil Magny, with this being a short notice fight, I think Neil Magny is going to make this a low risk fight. I think he's going to use a lot of his clinch work that he does, and he's going to wrestle a lot, and just kind of try to control Ian Gary. I don't think it's going to be a blowout performance. I think it's just going to be a safe win for Neil Magny. I don't know. Is there a potential that Neil Magny could get caught, whether it be in a submission or knockout? Yeah, of course. But I think the odds are probably in Neil Magny's favor in this one. I really do. So we'll see. We will see, but I do really like Ian Gary, so I kind of hope he wins, but I think Neil Magny's going to take that one. And then women's strawweight, co-main event, Zhang Weili versus Amanda Lemos. I'm taking Zhang Weili in that one all day. All day. Although I do really like Amanda Lemos. I think she's very dangerous. But I just think Zhang Weili is just incredible, so I think she's going to win. Aljamain Sterling versus Sean O'Malley is the main event. Aljamain is decent-sized favorite in that one. I do think I'm going to have to go with Sugar Sean. I don't know why. On paper, Aljamain is the better fighter. He is the better fighter. He's got incredible grappling. Probably the best grappling we've ever seen in that division. I don't know. Something's telling me that O'Malley's going to win this one. I don't know why. I think it's more of a mental thing with O'Malley. Like, I think his game is more mental, because it's like, yeah, if you put them next to each other and you're like, who is the better fighter? Aljamain is a better fighter by a lot. Like, by a lot, I think. But I just think that O'Malley, his mindset, his confidence, that part of it, I think that's what really gives him a little bit of an edge. And I also just think his striking is a lot better than Aljamain. I think Aljamain has really good striking, but I think O'Malley's is just a little bit better. He's very good at setting up his combinations. He's very good at throwing feints. He's very good at using his range and distance. So I do think just that piece of it is what's making me lean toward O'Malley. I think he would potentially be able to catch Aljamain. I don't know. I could see him getting submitted very early in this fight, though. I could see that happening very easily. I could see him getting ragdolled by Aljamain. I could definitely see that. So do I think it's very likely that Sean O'Malley is going to win? No. But that's just who I think is going to win. I don't know why. I really don't have any logic to defend my decision there. I just have a feeling. I don't know. I think it's time for Sugar to take the belt. I think he's, been manifesting this for a long time. I think that, yeah, I don't know why. I just think he's going to win. But Aljamain's probably one of the best bantamweights to ever do it. I mean, what he's done, where he started and where he is now, is just absolutely incredible. And just to see what he's been able to accomplish is crazy. I mean, he's accomplished a lot. But O'Malley too, like when he fought Petr Yan, I thought Yan was gonna run over him. I really did. And even though O'Malley won that fight, I still thought Yan won. I was kind of surprised when they gave the decision to O'Malley, but it wasn't like he completely, dominated. Like it was a close fight. I would have given it to Jan though, but O'Malley did a lot better than I thought he would. I thought he was going to get run over by Jan. I really did. So I guess that's what's kind of making me think that maybe he could beat Aljamain. I don't know. But I just think, I don't know. That's what I think. I've always been a huge Sugar Sean fan. I just think he's really good for the sport. He's good at playing the heel. He's good at promoting himself. He's really exactly what the UFC wants. He does kind of have a little bit of that Dana White privilege, but that's how it works. That is kind of how it works. And we see it with Conor. We see it with a lot of these fighters. But yeah, I do. I don't know. I'm going with Sugar Sean. I don't know why. So that's my pick for that one. But I could easily be wrong. Because, like I said, Aljamain is the better fighter. He's the better fighter. I will not be surprised if he wins. I'll actually be more surprised if O'Malley wins than Aljamain. But I'm still going with Sean. I don't know. Every time I've picked Sean and people are like, you're crazy, he always wins. So I'm picking him again. Let's go. It's the Sugar Show. Come on. No, but we'll see. It'll be a fun fight either way. A lot of trash talk, a lot of build up to this fight. Sean's definitely been trying to get in his head, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, trying to think if there's anything else coming up that's notable. We got obviously PFL coming up Friday. Or I think it's let me see. Let me check first because PFL's schedule is kind of all over the place, not gonna lie. Oh yeah, Friday, August 18th. Yeah, so this Friday, and then Wednesday, August 23rd. So August 18th, this coming Friday, heavyweights and women's featherweights. Yeah, that's gonna be a good one to pay attention to because that could be a possible opponent for Francis Ngannou. And now that Derek Lewis has re-signed an 8-fight contract with the UFC. Good Lord. 8 fights. That's a stretch. That is a stretch. I don't know what happened there. He must be getting paid a lot of money. I would hope to sign an 8-fight deal. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I thought there was a possibility he might go to PFL, maybe for just one fight Francis, and then go back to the UFC. I don't know. Maybe that would have been too risky. Who knows? Maybe he just wanted to stay in the UFC. He had a great performance. Maybe Dana offered him something nice. I don't know. But anyways, heavyweight playoffs are Friday, so we'll get to see maybe a potential opponent for Francis. Who knows? And then Wednesday, August 23rd, the welterweights and lightweights playoffs. So Shane Burgos versus Clay Collar is the main event on that one. I believe Sabadou C is going to be fighting on that card, so a lot of great fights on that one. And Corey Cuppy, who I interviewed last weekend, he's going to be fighting on that card. So definitely watch out for him. He is a middleweight, and the middleweight roster for PFL is very, very light right now. So we'll see what happens. I'm really excited to see what he's about to do because I think it's going to be absolute destruction. But we'll see. We will see. It'll be fun to watch regardless. He's a very entertaining fighter. So definitely pay attention to that one. But other than that, that's all I got for you. Thank you again for tuning in, for watching this. I'm really excited. Also, just want to let you guys know I am covering the Contender Series. So every Tuesday on Fight Bananas, if you can tune in to their YouTube channel or it's on Facebook as well, their live stream, I will be hosting the Dana White's Contender Series post show. I hosted it this Tuesday, so I'm going to be going on again. I guess by the time this airs, it'll be tomorrow. I will be hosting it. So if you watch Contender Series, you want to see kind of my opinion on it, go hop on that post show. I'll start it right after the Contender Series ends. So hop on there if you want to kind of hear my takes on it. But yeah, that'll be every Tuesday right after Contender Series. So I'm really excited about that. Really excited that Fight Bananas gave me that opportunity to hop on their platform and host a Contender Series show, which is really fun because I'm really excited for Contender Series this year. Really excited. And they already gave out 5 contracts, so that's huge. But anyways, thank you guys for all the support. Thank you for tuning in this week, and I will see you again next week. Bye.
Going up, don't look down.